The State of the Zeeborhood, June 2024. I'm writing this on Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. I picked tonight to finally write this out because on June 30th, I have been a DJ without a station for 1 year. And today is hump day, meaning it's been about a year ago today that I got everyone over the hump and into the rest of their week for the last time. When I started writing tonight, I hyped myself up by listening to David Naughton's Makin' It, a song that kicked off nearly every hump day dance party for many years. It became one of my signature songs, so much so that some of my sweet listener friends made me an awesome embroidery as a gift when I left the radio station I owned for nearly 6 years that said, "Makin' It." But friends, in the last year, I have been barely making it, and this year hasn't, quote, been my year, as the song says. Because I love a good synchronicity, I searched my social media looking for a photo that I know was taken the day of the first serious meeting I had about buying my very own radio station. It's of me pretending to eat a taco-shaped piñata in the middle of a store wearing my Yes t-shirt. The date? June 27th, 2017. I honestly thought the photo in question was taken in July, so to write this tonight, it's the perfect bookend on the last 7 years of my life. 6 years of planning and eventual radio station ownership, and 1 year of deep grief over the loss of radio station ownership, and honestly, the loss of my identity and my sense of self. While I'm being honest, and if you know me, you know I can't help but be, I've been in serious mourning for the last year that came on the heels of 7 years full of really painful things, both in my personal life and my business life. Throughout all the bad things, though, I continued to work as hard as possible for my radio station, but that pace eventually led me to extreme burnout and a multitude of health problems. While getting prepared to write out this State of the Zeeborhood Address, I finally allowed myself to listen to some of my work on my former station, which will be known as my former station for the remainder of this piece. I've been both laughing and crying, and now I have some distance from the situation. I realized I got to make some pretty cool radio over 5 years, and I'm very proud of the work I did at my former station. I have dedicated more than half my life to radio, and I had to make a difficult decision last May: my health or the continued partnership with my former station until it was eventually sold, but not to me. It wasn't an easy decision to make, and I began struggling with the possibility of having to make it starting in the fall of 2021. Because it doesn't serve me to be explicit, let me just say it was at that time decisions were being made at my former station that I was not on board with, but unfortunately, my lack of financial capital often diminished my say in the way things were operated there, regardless of my standing as co-owner. That was the beginning of the end of my time there. This time period included a drastic music format change and the dismantling and moving of a full radio station, plus moving to 2 other locations nearly by myself. Slowly, I was watching the thing that I had worked so hard to build get smaller and smaller, not because of my bad business acumen or a lack of fun, potentially profitable ideas, but because I was never a significant financial contributor to the startup of my former station, instead trading off my sweat equity to make up the difference. This resulted in my rarely being listened to or taken seriously. The only time it seemed that my ideas were actually used was when they were given extreme external and exhausted proof. I was often reminded that I wasn't selling enough advertising, which was impacting the station's success. I simply didn't have time to do that on top of all my other responsibilities for the station, because I was doing the job of multiple people in order to save the station money. But let it be known that I was doing my best to sell too when I had opportunity. When I was finally able to regain control of the programming and the general vibe of the station, I had only 4 months to undo a 1.5 years worth of damage. I say 4 months because it was at the end of 5 years and time for the invested capital to be repaid to my former business partner. He had every right to call for that to either be repaid or the station to be sold so he could recoup his money, so please don't read into this as any more than stated fact to continue my story. I tried unsuccessfully to raise the money to be able to buy my former station. In May of 2023, Due to the immense stress and stress-related health problems stemming from the last year and a half, I decided that it was best for me to sell my majority ownership back to my former station for a token dollar and some equipment. My last day on the air was June 30th, and I walked away, hopeful to make my very own online radio station and do it my way, raising the funds to do so through crowdsourcing. I had to escape even though I was certainly not prepared to take such a financial hit. I panicked. Either I quit and take the risk, or I drop dead during this battle. In the end, I chose myself, but it didn't come without its own problems. I was somewhat successful in my fundraising and invested all that I earned back into the startup of this online station, but in hindsight, I was foolhardy in some of my decisions. See, I was literally fleeing from a harmful work situation, but I didn't want to interrupt the service I provided to my listeners, so I moved hastily for the first time in my life. That was dumb. I overthink everything for a reason, but I was just so irreparably damaged that I made decisions based on what other people expected of me instead of just waiting, planning, and making the audio art that I'm good at. I regret most of the decisions I made with spending the money I raised, with the exception of bringing Dean Friedman to town. That was an absolute blast, and I'd like to book more shows like that in the future. I also don't regret making stickers. You can buy them, 2 for $5, $6 if I gotta ship them. Hey, sorry for the commercial, but I gotta make money somehow. Anyway, I invested everything I made back into what I thought would be my own online music radio station, Electric Zee. However, because I was moving so hastily and trying to essentially create my former station 2.0, all while recovering from burnout and grieving, I failed. It feels safe to express that now. I failed. I failed, and I feel like a phony because I asked for help to build this station and I wasn't able to do it. I feel it's important to note that just in music licensing alone, it would be about $5,000 a year, and I came nowhere near to raising that amount of money. Because I could see that I wasn't able to pull off what I said I would with this online radio station, I stopped fundraising. I sold some stickers here and there to help me pad the months when I was a few dollars short to pay my rent or some other bill. Why continue to ask for support for something that you don't even know for sure what it is, Dags? Until you figure it out, it's best if you just stop. So I stopped. I stopped trying. I stopped creating. I stopped living. I spent a lot of time on long walks, listening to the same songs on repeat. I auditioned for national freelance audio gigs, and I wasn't terribly successful. But I did manage to record an audiobook, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I did some DJing out in the community, and I'm hoping to do more of that in the near future. I returned bottles and rolled change. I've started selling off some of my vintage items that I've collected for most of my life. I applied for every and all job that I can physically do. Yes, everyone is hiring, but there are some physical and mental issues that prevent me from doing those jobs. If you want to know more, ask me privately. I was told by a hiring agency to leave off my master's degree in order to get jobs where having such a degree might deter me from getting hired. Basically, I've done everything I could, and I'm still not making it. Nearly every day of the last year, I have woken up to a pang of anxiety in my heart. The minute my eyes open, I begin my daily process of scrambling for financial security, applying for jobs on the days when my mental and physical health allowed it. Some days, I couldn't even get out of bed because I was so ashamed that I wasn't doing what I said I would. I felt like a fraud. Going from being a workaholic with an emergency savings account to being profoundly unemployed and having your savings evaporated by legal bills to help get you out of your business partnership will do a number on you. It's hard when you really want to work and then get rejected repeatedly because your area of expertise of 27 years really doesn't fit into any employment opportunity, apparently. After about 9 months of being in an incapacitating burnout freeze depression cycle, I was finally able to start substitute teaching. I loved it, and I will return in the fall, but that means I have nearly zero income at the moment because it's summertime, and I didn't work long enough to be eligible for unemployment. I have a fortune cookie on my table as I write this that says, "Embrace the rhythm of life, and you'll find harmony in the chaos." I'm trying my best to do just that. Side note, I'm extremely grateful for friends who have bought me lunch or paid my admission to events this year. It has saved me from completely detaching from society as I battled my way out of this darkest depression. There were many days where it got really dark in my world, and your tokens of friendship are what kept me here another day. Thank you. So why all this backstory nearly a year after I left my former station? Well, it's because I finally know what Electric Zee is. I just needed some quiet time to figure it out. While working at my former station, I created the Zeeborhood, a place where me and my listeners lived together in a world of music and kindness, where we celebrated and mourned together, whether it was birthdays and special events, or, during the pandemic, where our collective longing for togetherness in a time of quarantine was palpable. I missed the Zeeborhood, but was forced to remember what I always said about it. The Zeeborhood is a state of mind, meaning it is everywhere and in everyone. Wherever you are, there it is. The Zebraverse initially was the greater encompassing entity where the Zeeborhood existed, kind of like a galaxy, but I've since grown away from that idea, as you'll hear in a moment. To get myself through the rough patches these last few months and attempt to be creative, I started making AI art about what I thought the Zeeborhood would look like. One of my top 5 favorite books is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, and I thought about what his idea of the future looked like, combined with the forests and mountains I grew up with in the Adirondacks. I make these AI pictures and dream of a world where 1960s robots, spaceships, and flying cars exist among the maple trees and rivers and mountains, in a modern throwback to a nostalgic time when things didn't seem so scary. Often I imagine little me, all grown up, talking to my tape player inside my commandeered spaceship, the SS Zebraverse, cruising and hoping to card catalog all the cool stories from all the neat people I've met in my life, preserving history before it's all gone. I think about being a space DJ historian who is on a mission. The days of physical media are dying, but that media is needed more than ever as art disappears from streaming platforms, after we were all encouraged to get rid of our stuff and just live in the virtual. If I have to exist in the virtual as a creator, let me do it my way and keep the hard copies. I consider the audio I will be releasing to be lo-fi sci-fi DIY pirate radio talk shows for the post-apocalyptic void. Let me get used to saying podcast. It's hard after being a broadcaster for all these years. It is my intention to release 2 podcasts monthly, Tales from the Zeeborhood, and one that is yet to be announced because I want to record it before I say more, which will be released in July and August respectively. I will also be uploading to my YouTube edited episodes of Me and You in Music, my long-form radio series consisting of conversations about songs of significance that ran for 4 years on my former station. I don't have the rights to those songs, but the conversations can stand on their own and feature a YouTube playlist for following along. One of the most important songs getting me through the last 6 months is Retro Vertigo by Mr. Bungle, especially these lyrics. Sell the right to your blight, and you'll eat. I have written some form of this piece dozens of times in my head over the last 6 months, but feeling ashamed to once again ask for support for my art after failing so miserably and publicly the first time I asked. But now I have the direction I didn't have the first time around, so it is time to, quote, sell the right to my blight, because it's getting harder by the day to eat and simply pay the bills, not to mention the minor startup costs for electriczee.com. It's not a lot of money to start it, but it's money I simply don't have because at the moment, I'm not sure how I'm going to pay my bills this month. This is me, simply asking you to support my art. If I have ever entertained you or made you smile, please consider becoming a supporter. I have a variety of ways that you can support Electric Zee. Through a $5 monthly Patreon subscription, there are other, more expensive Patreon options for those interested, a one-time donation through buymeacoffee.com, check donations via mail to Electric Zee, P.O. Box 1972, Plattsburgh, New York 12901, or by buying stickers, as I mentioned before. I'm selling advertisement opportunities on the podcasts, so if you're interested in sponsoring that way, I will meet with you to discuss the options. I am also offering small businesses the opportunity of buying a longer interview-based audio advertisement option called Small and Local that will be uploaded to YouTube and shared on electriczee.com and across all my social media platforms. I know times are hard for everyone right now, and I feel selfish asking for help, but the only way I know how to make money is by entertaining, and since I can't find employment elsewhere currently, I am running out of options, and I need help. I'm trying to keep everything I create available to everyone with no paywalls because paywalls aren't punk rock. But I need help to keep everything going. Supporters will have incentives like early downloads and discussion groups to give them a little more bang for their buck. If you can't support financially, I absolutely understand. Even sharing my content on your social media is extremely helpful. If you are able to help me in this endeavor to support myself from my art, I promise to do my best to give you entertaining and meaningful content. Thank you to everyone in the Zeeborhood for believing in me and for having patience while I figured this all out. All my love, Captain Amanda Dagley of the SS Zeeperverse.